They told me not to touch her baby. Not in words, not directly, but the message was loud and clear the moment that woman raised her hand and slapped me across the face in front of her 2-year-old son. Let me back up. When I first walked up to the gates of the Morrison estate in Charleston, South Carolina, I already knew what I was walking into. People like Elise Morrison, polished, privileged, always performing, don't hire people like me unless they're desperate or trying to prove something. And they definitely don't trust us. I didn't come there to be liked. I came because I had medical bills stacked higher than my fridge and a nursing license collecting dust after I dropped everything to care for my dying mother. That job was supposed to be temporary, just enough to get back on my feet. But nothing about Elise Morrison was temporary. She wanted control over every inch of her mansion, every bite her son ate, and every breath her staff took. And me, I was just supposed to clean. Not talk, not sit, not make eye contact. And God forbid don't touch her child. But Theo, sweet little Theo, didn't know the rules yet. The first time he waddled into the kitchen with his arms stretched out, holding a broken toy truck and a look that said, "Fix this, please." I hesitated. I could hear Elise's heels clicking from the hallway, but I knelt anyway. I took that truck and I said, "Let's see what we can do, little man." That's when she caught me. Her voice sliced through the air like a blade. "What do you think you're doing?" You were just crossing a line. I stood up slowly, keeping my voice calm. He needed help. And you needed a job. So do what you're paid to do. Stay in your place. I swallowed the sting. That's what survival looks like sometimes. You bite your tongue until it bleeds. You nod. You clean crystal figurines while someone watches you like you're going to steal the silverware. You shrink yourself because the bills don't care about your pride. But then came the slap. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The house smelled like lemons and polished floors. Theo was upset about something, probably the storm outside. He clung to my leg elephant in hand, sobbing about how Ellie was sick. So I did what any decent adult would do. I hugged him. I kissed the elephant's head and told him Ellie would be okay. Then Elise walked in. "What did I tell you?" Her voice was low, dangerous. "Step away from my son." "He was scared," I said gently. "He just needed smack." The sound echoed through that marble foyer like thunder. For a second, I didn't move. Her hand was still in the air like she couldn't believe she'd actually done it. I touched my cheek, burning, humiliated, and looked her in the eye. "Did you just hit me? You were being insubordinate?" She snapped, her voice shaky now. "You crossed a line." "No," I said. I comforted a crying child. We stood there, two women frozen in a moment we couldn't walk back from. She doubled down, of course, called me dramatic, threatened to dock my pay. I wanted to quit. I wanted to scream, but I needed that paycheck more than I needed justice. So I stayed. 3 days later, Elise threw a dinner party for her husband's international business partners. The house was pristine. The food was 5-star, and Elise was glowing like nothing ugly had ever happened under her roof. I was plating desserts when I heard it. Theo's voice. It was faint at first, then panicked. Mama can't." My whole body went cold. By the time I reached the stairs, Elise was already halfway up shouting for Preston. I ran past both of them and into Theo's room. He was on the floor, purple lips, wide eyes, hands clutching his tiny throat. The bowl of grapes on his nightstand told me everything I needed to know. He was choking. Elise was frozen. Preston was fumbling with his phone. "I can help," I said. Elise whipped around. "No, you've done enough." "Your son is dying," I snapped. "You either let me help or you bury your pride next to your baby." Silence. Then Elise nodded just barely. I dropped to my knees, flipped Theo over, and started back blows. Nothing. Switched to chest thrusts. Still nothing. "Come on, baby," I whispered. "Come on." Then he coughed. Once. Twice. A chunk of grape hit the floor and suddenly he was breathing, wheezing, crying, alive. I held him close, rocking him gently. Elise collapsed into the chair. Preston just stared at me like I'd walked out of a dream. No one said anything for a while. The air was thick with shame, gratitude, and something else. Awe. Elise finally spoke. "Why? Why did you help him?" I looked at her. Really looked. Past the designer dress and the layers of fear masquerading as control. "Because he's a child," I said. "Because I knew how. Because I wouldn't let your mistake be the last thing he saw." She cried then. Not loud, not pretty. The kind of crying that comes when something inside you breaks for good. The next morning, she handed me an envelope. I thought it was a termination letter. It wasn't. Inside was a bonus, a reference, and an offer. I spoke to the head nurse at the children's hospital, she said. "They want to meet you." I was stunned. Why? Because you belong somewhere, people don't try to shrink you. And because I've been wrong about you, about a lot of things. I didn't say yes right away. Part of me still didn't trust her. But then Theo came running into the kitchen holding his elephant, yelling "Mama Nene," and all I could think was, maybe this kid gets to grow up seeing something better. I took the job at the hospital, started fresh, got back to doing what I was meant to do, healing, helping, standing tall. Elise. She changed too. Hired a new housekeeper, paid her fairly. Started volunteering at the hospital. Even joined me for a few parenting workshops. We're not best friends or anything, but we're something closer to real. And Theo, he's thriving, happy, curious, brave. And every time he calls me Mama Nene, I remember that being underestimated is only a setup for the comeback. Sometimes the person you slap today is the one who saves your tomorrow. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever judged someone too quickly, only to be proven dead wrong, or been on the receiving end of that judgment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've ever worked a job where someone thought you were invisible. Because let's be real, kindness shouldn't be something you have to earn. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss the next story, trust me.